radio, spiritual radio. This is AchieveRadio.com. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/AchieveRadio.
What a beautiful day to be alive. My debt is paid and more money arrives. The fridge is full and there's plenty of ice for a fireside chat with anyone I like. What a beautiful day, good to be here, when almost everyone has disappeared. When almost everyone is waiting in line, it's good to meet you in this world of mine.
Welcome, everybody. It's live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on AchieveRadio.com, or as we also like to say, live with Dr. Carolyn Dean. And believe me, if you're hanging out with Dr. Dean, you are going to live. You are going to live an extraordinary life full of lots of great health and goodness and a super strong body-mind connection if Dr. Dean has anything to say about it. And she has lots to say. You know, she's been on Achieve Radio, ladies and gentlemen, for 7 years. 7 years on Achieve Radio, making a difference for people every single week, not only on this show. She was on my show when I had a show. She does Bob's show on Saturday evenings. I mean, she is always out there giving and sharing what she knows because she is committed to causing health, vitality, and well-being everywhere she goes. And not only does she do it with her inimitable spirit, but she does it with her great information that she's been perfecting for over 40 years. And she also does it with her extraordinary dietary supplements, ladies and gentlemen, just these everyday, plain old dietary supplements that she likes to talk about every once in a while. And she does it with lots of common sense, and she does it with joy because she's passionate and she's interested about what she's doing, and she's passionate and interested about you too. And that's what makes this radio show such a great success. We have people listening from all over the world, and they call in and they tune in week after week, and they download the archives, and they can also subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, and they share this information with others because it makes a huge difference. So we're so glad to have her here this evening. And before I bring her on, I just want to remind everybody that not only is Dr. Dean a medical doctor, but she's also a naturopath. She's an herbalist, an acupuncturist, a nutritionist, and she's an author of many books, including The Magnesium Miracle, which is going to be coming out in its 2017 edition just in a few weeks. And she's just an extraordinary woman, highly accomplished and available to talk 2 hours every week on the radio. It's just unheard of. We're so happy to have her with us. So again, Dr. Dean, not here giving medical advice. No, that's not what she does. She does talk about what she would do and what she has done for many years by using nutrition and great nutrition to sustain her already impeccable health and youthfulness, because she's very youthful, and she's also super sexy. Okay, we're so happy to have her with us. Welcome, Dr. Carolyn Dean.
Super sexy. Now that's a new twist to my accomplishments. Thank you very much.
Well, I just saw you post with Jermaine in that picture, and I was like, dang, Dr. Dean is super sexy with her Maui Jim shades on, looking all flush with her beautiful colors. And, yeah, I can add super sexy to the list, absolutely.
That's awesome. Yeah, we had a great weekend in San Diego with some of our customers, so that was an unexpected fun time. And those shades, they are Maui Jims, but I did happen to get them in North Carolina last year when I did my warehouse visit. So, yeah, they're very special. Every time I put them on, Ginny, I think of you.
That's sweet. Oh, gosh. Okay, wonderful. Well, how are you doing?
Oh, just excellent. It's just, yeah, it's perfect here in Maui as usual. And, we're busy kind of reinventing ourselves so that we don't run amok of the FDA by telling people that if they have magnesium deficiency that leads to problems, that magnesium can help them. We're not allowed to say that. So we're going to be talking about health, about the minerals, about all kinds of things that are very important. I kind of began this in this realm. The last 3 blogs I did were about magnesium function. So I'd like to go there, and then we'll get to Ginny's blog, which flows right into our topic, as usual. And the magnesium functions I take from the Magnesium Miracle book, as Ginny says. It's coming out mid-August, and it's really cute, Ginny, on Amazon. The pre-sales of the 2017 edition are far exceeding the sales of the old edition, which is only smart for people to want the new one. And it does appear that since we've been talking about the new edition for over a year, and then Random House bumped us about, almost 8 or 9 months, we've been waiting for this book to come out. So people have been waiting with bated breath, and it's an awesome book, and I really go into a lot of detail. Some of this detail that I went into on the blogs, it's really too much, but at this point, you really need to know exactly what's going on with your body, with magnesium. You have to make your own decision about supplementing. You got to know why. And what I said, I'm looking forward in the one of the first editions of Magnesium Miracle is that magnesium is necessary for the activation and function of 700 to 800 enzyme systems. I used to say 325, but that's really shifted upward. So magnesium is necessary for the activation and function of 700 to 800 enzyme systems in the body. It catalyzes most of the chemical reactions in the body. It synthesizes protein, stabilizes RNA and DNA, transmits nerve signals, relaxes muscles, whereas calcium contracts muscles, and it produces and transports energy called ATP. Yet your doctor thinks it's just a laxative. So we've got this uphill battle of trying to educate people about magnesium and, try to get them off the cliff of, how nutrients are portrayed as just, they're just something you can get in your diet. And we know from many reports, I was just sent this study from 2009, actually, that, let me find it, that there's a declining fruit and vegetable nutrient composition. And this report out of some research, Biochemical Research Institute in Wichita, Kansas, and they're saying, what is the evidence for this? And this was back in 2009, and it's not often that they'll even bother to spend the money to do these types of studies, but every time they do a nutrient report, they find that nutrients are lacking in our food supply. I often quote a report by the U.S. Department of Agriculture that 100 years ago, we could get 500 milligrams of magnesium in our soil, and now we're lucky to get 200. So if anyone thinks they can get magnesium in their diet, they can, be sadly, whatever. What's the word, Ginny? Help me out here. They can be sadly embarrassed or humiliated or come across.
Yeah, definitely highly misinformed, that's for sure. They will be disappointed. Yeah. They'll be very disappointed.
Very disappointed. And
disillusioned. Very disillusioned.
And actually, this brings up on Thursday this week, Ginny and I are doing a webinar, a diet webinar, and there's so many books on diet now. People get into this bandwagon about a new diet or a new way of eating, that it'll cure everything, but they really don't know the basic aspect of any food you eat, whether organic or totally processed, just doesn't have enough magnesium. And that's kind of the bottom line of our message here. So with these, with the blogs that I'm talking about, here we go. The first of 14 functions of magnesium. This is what I added to the Magnesium Miracle Book for this 2017 edition. So I talk a lot about energy. So number one, I make it energy. It's magnesium's most important function, creating the energy in the trillions of cells that make up our body. And magnesium is the cofactor in the production of ATP. I mean, some chemists even write the formula for ATP as ATP-Mg, Mg standing for magnesium, or Mg-ATP. And I go into the details. I think it's very useful if you go to our drcarolyndean.com website and see these 3 blogs, because we're just not going to have time to read through it all. But as I've said many times, and you really have to grasp this, the Krebs cycle that makes energy for the body requires magnesium in 6 of its 8 steps. If it doesn't have enough magnesium, you don't have energy. And a lot of people will say, they just, when they feel fatigued and don't have energy, they get depressed, they get apathetic, they don't get things done. And then if that's misdiagnosed as some sort of dis-ease condition, then they can end up on medication. Number 2, membrane stabilizer. So what this does is the stabilizing of membranes. It makes them less excitable. And that means nerves are less excited, so they don't fire off and cause tingling and numbness and nerve symptoms, or the muscle fibers don't fire off and cause tics and spasms. So membrane stabilizing is a very good thing to have, and magnesium does that. Number 3, protein production. I mean, this is very important. They were doing the genome project, and then they began to do the proteome project, where they tried to define all the proteins in the body, and lo and behold, they began to find that a lot of these body proteins had magnesium receptor sites, which meant that magnesium had something very important to do with protein production. Number 4, the RNA DNA factor. Magnesium is required for the structural integrity of nucleic acids. So it's a requirement for RNA and DNA production, and that's pretty huge. And, what we say about our products is that they do stabilize the DNA, and that you can say partly comes from this activity of magnesium. Number 5, guanosine triphosphate. It's an enzyme, and magnesium is a cofactor in its activity. And what it does, and it does it because magnesium is there to help it, it's the signal transduction, or what's called switching on of specific receptor proteins located on cell membranes, and transmitting that signal to trigger taste, smell, and perception of light. It's a factor in protein biosynthesis. It controls and differentiates cell division. It helps with the translocation of proteins through cell membranes and the transport of vesicles within the cell and assembly of vesicle coats. Again, all pretty complex information, but you have to know, and hopefully when doctors read this, they'll know that magnesium is more than a laxative. Number 6, phospholipase C. Magnesium is a cofactor for the activity of this enzyme. So this is a class of enzymes that splits phospholipase lipids at the phosphate group, creating signal transduction pathways. The most important one allows calcium to enter cells. So that's important because when calcium enters a cell, the calcium is what triggers the action of a muscle or a nerve, and then the magnesium pushes the calcium back out to stop the action from continuing unabated. So there's a real balance there. Number 7, adenylate cyclase. Magnesium is a cofactor for that enzyme, and that enzyme converts ATP to AMP and pyrophosphate. So there's your ATP energy molecules being broken back down. Cyclic AMP is used for intracellular signal transduction of the effects of hormones like glycogen and adrenaline into cells because the hormones can't themselves pass through cell membranes. Cyclic AMP is involved in the activation of protein kinases, regulates the effects of adrenaline and glucagon. It also binds to and regulates the function of ion channels or gateways into the cell. Now, when you're talking about adrenaline, you're talking about the adrenal glands, and you're talking about how I've often called magnesium a stress reducer, and one of the ways it does it is by supporting this adenylate cyclase. Glucagon, that has to do with the pancreas. Let me see. Let me just get glucagon here on a search so I can give you a better definition. Glucagon is a peptide hormone produced by alpha cells of the pancreas. It works to raise the concentration of glucose in the bloodstream. So there's your magnesium helping your blood sugar. So when we say that magnesium is effective in helping balance hormones, then there are two right there. Guanylate cyclase, magnesium effect is a cofactor for that enzyme activity. It synthesizes cyclic guanosine monophosphate, cyclic GMP, and it allows calcium to enter the cell as well. It's an important second messenger that transmits the message across cell membranes for peptide hormones and nitric oxide, and it can also function in hormone signaling. There's more hormone activity. This whole business of nitric oxide is very important. You know, it's become another fad supplement. It's let me see if I can get a proper definition of it. In mammals, including humans, nitric oxide is an important cellular signaling molecule, a powerful vasodilator. So I just write about it a little bit in the book, the nitric oxide, but because it's a vasodilator, it will help relax the smooth muscle in blood vessels to help balance your blood pressure. And, you know, what I say when people ask me, well, should I take nitric oxide supplements? I say, well, not until you're completely saturated with magnesium, because what you want with magnesium is for it to be working on your cyclic GMP and creating its own nitric oxide at its own pace instead of you forcing it to take a supplement, which, you know, I don't know if you can get a natural nitric oxide. I mean, I think it's just a chemical, but is there a natural form versus a synthetic form? I don't know that. So yes, for nitric oxide in smooth muscle, it signals relaxation, which can regulate vascular and airway tone. Vascular, that's your blood pressure. Airway tone is your airways in the lung related to asthma and shortness of breath, perhaps allergies. It also regulates insulin secretion and peristalsis. Peristalsis is your bowel function, where if you don't have enough magnesium, the bowel muscles slow down and can cause constipation. If your magnesium is active enough or effective enough, or if you're saturated enough, your muscles lining your intestines should create a proper forward movement or peristalsis to push to push debris and fiber out of the intestine. So, in other words, to create proper bowel movement activity. And then number 9, I have the 700 to 800 enzyme processes, and I give the references for that. Quote, number 10, regulating ion channels. This is where magnesium is a direct regulator, most notably via key electrolytes of potassium, calcium, and sodium. It's intimately involved in potassium transport. Magnesium and potassium depletion cause similar damaging effects on the heart. And the problem with magnesium in this regard, with it being recognized as being as important as sodium and potassium and calcium, is that they really don't do proper blood testing for magnesium. And they're just kind of manipulating your sodium, potassium, and calcium and chloride and ignoring magnesium. This business I mentioned above, magnesium is intimately involved in the calcium channels. And you can read more about that when you get the book. And we want this book out there. We want it to be your holiday gift-giving present for all your friends and family.
Hey, Carolyn.
Yeah, Bob.
So, in summation.
No, I'm not finished yet.
Oh, this is a good point, though. Magnesium is bad for the medical business.
I can't say that, Bob.
Oh, yeah. Oh, geez. All right. It's good for healthy people.
There you go.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah, Bob, you're learning. Okay, number 11, intracellular signaling. That's been mentioned a couple of times. And without intracellular communication, the cells of the body would not be able to function at all. Number 12, oxidative phosphorylation. This is where electrons are transferred from electron donors to electron acceptors, such as oxygen, in redox reactions using magnesium as a cofactor. I mean, this is very huge, the redox reactions in the body. It's like the basic chemistry of the body utilizing oxygen and what happens when oxygen is diminished. Anyway, it's just a bit too complex. I did a whole seminar on this once with a group that felt that the best redox treatment was intravenous vitamin C, and I kind of pulled the rug out from under that, and I said, no, magnesium is really the best. So it's coming up in the world, our little magnesium.
Yeah, here's how to say it. Magnesium is bad for the supplement business.
Yeah, you really don't need a whole lot else but magnesium and some of the other minerals, of course, which we work with a multiple mineral. The Bs are important, especially in methylated Bs, and we use that, and we use a good protein powder. You don't really need that much. Vitamin C is important, but I say it's more important to get a vitamin C that's a C complex and not just ascorbic acid. Nerve conduction is number 13, and I've already mentioned that, but magnesium is intimately involved in efficient nerve conduction. Excess calcium, when it gets into the nerves, causes nerve cell excitation to the point of cell death in some cases, and it's pro-inflammatory. Calcium is pro-inflammatory. Magnesium is anti-inflammatory. And number 14, muscle function. The magnesium intimately involved in efficient muscle function. The mechanisms are varied and include oxygen uptake, electrolyte balance, and energy production. It makes muscles work properly, allowing calcium to cause muscle contraction, and then pushing calcium out of the muscles to allow the relaxation phase. And I've mentioned that already. And it's important that, some of this I'm repeating, and often we'll get emails and people say, "Oh yeah, I'm so glad you went over this again. I'm kind of finally getting it." And one of our dear customers, Joan, up in Canada, she's in her eighth decade. Bob, is that in her 80s? Yeah. I don't know if she gives her exact age anymore, but she's up there. So she said, "This 3-part blog was so exciting, like going to school without leaving home, sitting in my PJs and soaking it in like a sponge. Thank you so much for giving us the straight goods. I may just kind of sort of leave a copy lying around when I go to see my orthopedic surgeon in a few weeks." So that's our Joan. Thank you very much, Joan.
Yeah, leave it in the McDonald's stores or the place you don't go.
Right. Yeah, I remember Betty Martini when she was very active about aspartame, the artificial sweetener. She would do that. She'd go to Walmart and hand out flyers and everything. That's what we want our customers to do.
Yeah.
We want them to become magnesium drug representatives.
Yeah.
So
drug?
Well, they're saying magnesium is a drug now.
Okay.
Anyway, I'm going to stop now for a minute and see if Ginny has anything to add before I go into the topic that Ginny brought up.
No, I think that's very good. I'm glad you're laying it all out. Excellent. Nope, we're right on track.
Good. Now, I copied over your blog, but what was the title you gave your blog today, Ginny? I didn't copy that over. I'm sorry.
It was Becoming Magnesium Sufficient.
Okay, perfect. And that's basically, as a dietary supplement, what we're allowed to tell people to do. And that's what we're hearing back from our customers, that, yes, they feel their health improving with the magnesium and with the other products as well. And what Ginny overviews here is that magnesium plays important roles in the structure and function of the human body. And this blog is, where is the blog now, Ginny? Did we have to move the blog off our RNA Reset website?
It's at drcarolyndeanlive.com versus Dr. Carolyn Dean. So drcarolyndeanlive.com.
Good. So you'll find the blogs there now.
Yep.
So magnesium plays many important roles in the structure and function of the human body. That's what we just talked about. Those 14 main categories, they kind of encompass the 700 to 800 different functions that I talk about. The adult human body contains about 25 grams of magnesium. Now, if we think of 5 grams in a teaspoon, that's 5 teaspoons of magnesium. Over 60% of all the magnesium in the body is found in the skeleton, in our bones and teeth. 27% is found in muscles, 67% in other cells. Less than 1% is found outside the cells, like in the serum. That's why serum magnesium is such a bust when you try to use it as the measure of how much magnesium is in your whole body. Why does the body require so much darn magnesium? Well, it turns out that magnesium is not only producing necessary enzymes working in the mitochondria to make ATP, but necessary for protein synthesis at the ribosomal level. Ribosomes are the cellular organelles organelles where proteins are synthesized. It activates amino acids and allows the messenger RNA to attach to ribosomes. And Ginny goes on, it's in our RNA and DNA, kind of expanding on what I said. It's so funny, Ginny and I, we don't really collaborate too much on what we're saying in our blogs, but they're always similar. So without magnesium being available to the cell, protein synthesis cannot occur. So it's super critical. And then we go into the blood testing. You know, we use the magnesium RBC blood test at request a test, but always trying to remind people that it's still not the best test. I've got it outlined really nicely in the Magnesium Miracle book, the August edition. As I said, serum magnesium is the least efficient because you're only measuring 1% of the total body magnesium, and that amount is always going to be pretty much the same. There's a biofeedback mechanism where if your heart doesn't have enough magnesium, your body will drag some magnesium out of your bones or out of your muscles in order to keep the heart perfused with enough magnesium. And that's why doctors don't even put magnesium on an electrolyte panel, because it always looks the same. What's the point? And they don't even know about the magnesium RBC test. It's better than serum, but the best is the ionized magnesium, where you actually measure the magnesium ions, which is the best form of magnesium to take, the picometer stabilized ionic magnesium. So the measure of ionized magnesium will measure the right kind of broken down magnesium that will enter the cells and do its work. The magnesium RBC test, it's measuring magnesium in the red blood cells, but, you know, come to find out that there's no mitochondria in the red blood cells, and it's the mitochondria where the Krebs cycle makes the ATP and loads up the magnesium in order to make your energy. So if you follow that, common sense, the red blood cells don't have mitochondria, they don't make energy, they don't need to have a lot of magnesium, so they don't have magnesium to be measured to give you an idea of what your other cells have. There are other tests, there are expensive tests that you have to do through a doctor, the EXA test, EXATEST. I talk about that in the magnesium book as well. So when you do a magnesium RBC test, you can do it online at a lab called Request Test for $49, and give yourself an idea of where your levels are, but you also have to read as Ginny says, read the signs of your body to learn what your magnesium deficiency symptoms are. Sometimes people really don't. They just get used to being magnesium deficient. They really don't know what it feels like to be really healthy, and that's why we're keen on emphasizing the health aspects of our dietary supplements, because you think you're healthy and you take magnesium and get yourself saturated, and then you realize how much, better you can feel. The levels of magnesium in the magnesium RBC test, there is a range. It used to be 4.2 to 6.8, and what I tell people is that's not an optimum range. It doesn't mean you're healthy. It just is the range of the people that go to that lab and have their blood taken. And if we look at the statistics that around 80% of the population is not even getting the RDA of magnesium, then population is very deficient. So if you're looking at your blood levels for magnesium RBC, you do want it to be at the higher end, more in the 6 range rather than the 4 or 5 range. And in the past couple of years since I've been working with magnesium RBC tests and studying it, they've dropped the range. The bottom level is no longer 4.2, it's more like 3.8. So your doctor now can say if you have a 3.8 in your magnesium, that you're okay. Whereas what you may be doing, sitting in the doctor's office, is you may be twitching and, fatigued and having muscle cramps and all the magnesium deficiency symptoms, but your blood test looks, quote, normal. And, I'm afraid we do rely on blood tests a lot, thinking that they're going to give us a signal of how healthy we are. And really they don't. It's not an optimum level in these blood tests that you're looking at. It's just the average range of the sick population that visits that lab. Ginny goes on to say you can determine if you're at risk for magnesium deficiency through your lifestyle. Did you know that most dark-colored sodas contain phosphates? These substances bind with magnesium inside the digestive tract, rendering magnesium unavailable. So if you are eating a balanced diet by drinking soda with your meals, you're flushing magnesium out of your system. Fluorides in toothpaste and drugs can also bind magnesium. Caffeine, sugar, stress, prescription medications are all within our power to control and manage so that magnesium storage sites do not become depleted. Aging is another factor in magnesium depletion. Older adults are particularly vulnerable to low magnesium status. So it's all wonderful words, and there's a lot of them, so I think maybe I'll encourage you again to go and look at that blog, read through it. Just keep reading this information. Google my name and your questions, and get your left brain to kind of give up the ghost and say, yes, I really do have to pay attention to my magnesium, pay attention to my hydration, put the sea salt in my water. The minerals do make a difference. And you'll be healthier and happier as a result.
Hey, Carolyn.
Yes, Bob.
When did they establish 700, 800 functions? Is that something in the last 10 years? Since
yes.
You used to say 300?
That's right.
So because nobody thinks in medical school magnesium is that important, they haven't absorbed those studies to show that?
No, not at all.
Did the Alturas do that?
No, let me find that. I have it right here in number 10, I think, or number 9. It was Dr. Rosenoff, Andrea Rosenoff. She lives over in Big Island. She's a PhD that wrote the book Magnesium Factor with Mildred Zelig. She put the level at 700 to 800, and her study, I have the reference in the August edition of Magnesium Miracle. It's a prohealth.com in their library. She writes an article. And the other was Magnesium in Man, Implications for Health and Disease in Physiological Reviews, January 1st, 2015. So that's really recent. And that's a peer-reviewed journal? Yeah. That's like getting into Nature magazine. Well, no, Nature has been taken over. But you can look up that study. He says 600. Dr. D.E. capital B-A-A-I-J magnesium in man, implications for health and disease. So, yeah, I mean, they could easily start saying at least 600, but anything you read, they always quote the 300 or 325.
Well, isn't that a lot there, 300?
It is a lot, but, 600 to 800 is a lot more. It's the highest number of functions of any nutrient.
What do they say the number is for blood?
What do you mean blood?
The number of functions it's important for. Would they say everything? 1 million, 1,000?
You mean, well, it's affecting 800 enzyme systems, and the number of function each enzyme can do could be, multiple. But they don't know. You see, what happened in nutrition and nutrient research was by the 50s, they had identified most of the nutrients, and they just thought naming them was enough. And they didn't go into what each one did or was responsible for.
Because they couldn't find out?
Well, it was a lot of work. Nobody was putting up the money for it. What they had to do with animals is give them all the nutrients and withhold one and see what happened to the animal. And then report that. And then they had to do it with humans. And around the same time, the drugs really took a leap, and all the money went into drug research.
That's in the 50s.
I think that's kind of when the tide turned.
Okay, so they're not doing it. But what other things are more important than magnesium? Oxygen?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe you could say things that'll kill you really fast, like without oxygen. If you choke yourself and don't have oxygen, then you die a lot faster than you would with magnesium deficiency. Sure.
Is an enzyme function on the DNA level?
Well, there are enzymes that affect the DNA that require magnesium.
So they're smaller than DNA.
You don't get into the smallness, bigness. You get down a rabbit hole. I'm going over to Ginny now, okay?
Well, why not? What's the smallest thing in the body?
It doesn't matter.
You're
a nominalist. You're showing your nominalist tendency by just wanting to size things up. It doesn't matter.
For rhetorical purposes, to understand what's persuading what.
I know.
You weren't ready for that. I'm not just a nominalist.
Okay, Ginny, I think...
You know what the opposite of nominalism is, Carolyn? You should know this, is realism.
I'm real.
In philosophy.
Okay, Ginny, Bob's taking me down a rabbit hole. Please throw me the rope.
Yes. Well, let me just say we have a couple questions and comments on the chat line about what you've been saying so far. And one of the things that one of our listeners said, just listening to this is giving me a total body chill out. And I agree, Sarah.
Yeah, frightener.
Carolyn's voice is just so soothing. But the other
chill out means good.
Yeah, chill out.
Okay.
Yeah,
mute yourself, Bob.
Slack.
No, stop. But one thing Steph asked Carolyn is how do minerals, particularly magnesium, affect edema? Can you answer that?
Well, that's in blogs I've done about hydration stuff where if you have the right balance of minerals, and right balance, it just means what I'm talking about with the sea salt and water, 1/4 teaspoon for every quart in all your drinking water. Drink half your body weight in pounds in ounces of water. You do your sea salt and water, you do your magnesium, you do your multiple minerals, and those minerals going into the cells pull water in after the minerals, which means the water isn't floating around and causing edema in your ankles, and it's in the cells doing its work, and the water breaks down into hydrogen and oxygen, so it's no longer just liquid water that goes in your mouth and comes out the other end. So having good mineral balance and good hydration will be the treatment for edema.
As a husband, I always have my purple glass filled with this salt water. I bet not many other husbands could claim that. I don't have to do nothing. just go over at least once a day, and there's a full glass of salted water provided by that person right over there.
And yes, that's what I do. I line up all our, big 20-ounce glasses and fill them with water and sea salt. And yeah, Bob just drinks water once a day. You mute yourself.
Oh no, I'm making the show interesting since we haven't got much to talk about. I have more room
Bob
for me.
Bob thinks that he's on display now.
Well,
Ginny,
when do you make those glasses? Do you do that twice a day?
Yes, twice a day.
What time? How early in the morning?
You be
While
quiet.
I'm sleeping?
Ginny, what else is
They're
going
always
on
filled,
the
Ginny.
chat?
It's wonderful. These glasses are always filled up.
Carolyn's very efficient. I've traveled with her, and she's very organized and very efficient, Bob. So I can imagine that would be the way that it is at home. And so I agree with that. And by the way, we have a lot of listeners who do that. They get their water lined out for the day so they don't miss. And it's very important because when you make the statement, drink half your body weight in water, most people freak out because they're not used to doing that. And even people who have what they call a beneficial water habit or whatever, really don't come close. They're about 2/3 of what, the half your body weight in water requirement is. Not a requirement, but it's a suggestion. And when they start, elevating to that next level of really trying to do that, they just find by measuring out their water every day, they make sure they get it all in. So I think it's a very good strategy, Carolyn. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Good.
And it's a good thing that Carolyn is there to support you, Bob. I wouldn't want to say take care of because that would be, minimizing. But she's very supportive of you.
Yeah, and apparently I need more support. Not only am I the Donald Trump of McClune studies, I've now just been named on the chat line the Nancy Pelosi of the Democrats. I'm the rapidly going non-compensmento. So.
Yeah, you're kind of going sideways, Bob. Yeah. Merv says, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so excited. I had my family visiting last week, spoke to them how I've been helped with Dr. Dean's products by just starting with Remag and Remite. She was so impressed. She went home and ordered the Total Body Reset. I know she will derive the same benefits as I have. Thank God for Dr. Dean's wisdom. Hey, how about that?
Oh, that's fantastic. Yes, there is a shift. I really think there is a shift. A year ago, a lot of people complained that no one was listening, but now when people have had their beneficial effects for a year and more, the family sees it. And when the family, comes to you and maybe has questions, you just say, well, look at me. This is what I did. And a lot of families and friends are picking up on it. So we're very grateful for that.
Yeah, and, everybody wants to feel good. I mean, that's one thing that the whole human race has in common, I think. Mm-hmm. People, want to feel good, and they want to be able to get up and move around and enjoy their life. And so it's pretty much hands down that when people see you doing that, they're going to want a part of what you've got. So that's very exciting, too. Okay, now let's see what else we have going on. So that was Merv. Oh, yes, and then this other person, but we will not really repeat that on the air. It's not necessary. Nancy Pelosi comment. Okay, Carolyn, back to you.
Okay, the question that came in today was about test results, and I may have covered it. Someone is saying, could taking higher levels of magnesium on a daily basis causes one's serum calcium levels to appear temporarily lower and possibly cover up clues to hyperparathyroidism? Now, this is it's kind of a complicated question, but I do put it here because I do talk about hyperparathyroidism in the new book because it is an important cause of magnesium deficiency symptoms when someone has too much, quote, too much calcium. But especially taking our product of magnesium it's not going to artificially or even in any way affect your serum calcium levels. What magnesium does is it does help, quote, dissolve calcification. And so people might get the wrong impression from what I've said about magnesium dissolving calcium. But this brings up the whole problem about serum calcium, serum magnesium. The better type of calcium blood test is an ionized calcium level, and we wish there were an ionized magnesium level. So I really don't know what to say about a serum calcium, whether that's accurate enough. This person says her serum calcium is 9.3. The range is 8.4 to 10.5. So it looks like the serum calcium is dead center. However, as I put in the Magnesium Miracle book, according to the Norman Parathyroid Center, which is the world famous parathyroid diagnosis and treatment center, they say that adults over 35 years of age should not have calcium levels higher than 9.9, where the average range of calcium is 8.8 to 10.7. So all those numbers, I'll have to find out from the Norman Parathyroid Center if they're using a serum or an ionized level. But if you're higher than 9.9, then you should, and you have a lot of magnesium deficiency symptoms or hyperparathyroid symptoms, which you can look up in the new book or look up online, then you should consult with the Norman Parathyroid Center. This person says she's taking 4 and 5 teaspoons of REMAG, and her magnesium RBC test was only 5.1 recently, but she'd also forgotten to stop the magnesium beforehand, so the test is really not that accurate. So it's important to think of some of the information I talked about earlier, that the magnesium RBC test is not that accurate. And that the person is not saturated yet. She didn't say how long she's been taking her REMAG. Took me a year and a half to get to a saturation point. So that was that question. If we don't have any more chat or any phone questions, I can go to a dissertation that our friend Joan, again, our 80-something customer, sent me. What do you think, Ginny? Should I continue on?
Well, let's just put out the call for phone calls, because I haven't announced yet that if you want to talk to Dr. Dean this evening, you've got to call our radio studio line, which is 602-666-6027. Again, that's 602-666-6027. And then if you have a question or comment, you've got to raise your hand by hitting *5 on the keypad, and that will let me know you have a question or comment, and I'll put you on with Dr. Dean. So we do have some phone calls coming in, Carolyn, and let's see where we are. We're about 3 minutes to the top of the hour. So I'm not sure if it makes sense to put people on right before we have to go to a break, or if we should do it right after the top of the hour. So callers, why don't you hang on, and we'll do a couple questions off this chat line, and then we'll take your call right at the top of the next hour. One of the questions came in, Dr. Dean, do you use Himalayan salt on your food as well as what you add to the water? That seems like a lot of salt to me.
Yes, I use salt as well. Sea salt is not sodium chloride. We've been kind of brainwashed to be scared of salt, but that's the sodium chloride. So when you look at sea salt, the sodium content is a lot less than table salt. And our RDA of salt, I don't know how much we believe in the RDA. Our RDA of sodium, I should say, is 2,500 to 3,000 milligrams. And I'm trying to remember what a teaspoon of sea salt is. But you can look up those figures, and you'll find out, no, it's not a lot at all. And what you do is you take a pinch and you work up, and you get so used to the taste that you don't want to drink your water without the sea salt anymore. So it's something that we really have to cultivate, because our water is so filtered because of chemicals and and heavy metals, it's filtered to the point where all the minerals are filtered out as well, and we have to replace them in some way. And sea salt, Himalayan sea salt, I use a orange copper-colored Hawaiian salt, as long as it's not pure white, because if your sea salt is pure white, it's been refined to remove a lot of the minerals. So there. And we're up at the top of the hour.
Yep.
Yes, we
are. Excellent. And one more quick question, which was, can you say are heel spurs or plantar fasciitis caused by too much calcium? Is that something you can talk about?
I think it is. I think we have evidence when people start taking magnesium that their heel spurs do subside. I don't know that there are any studies, and we can't say, I don't know if it's a disease or not. I guess we can't really talk about that. Maybe I can't talk about that. What do you think, Jenny?
Very good. All right. Well, we'll just leave it there for now. Let's go to our break at the top of the hour, and then we'll come back and keep using our time wisely. Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean, back in just a few minutes.
You can also get updates and resources online by visiting drcarolyndean.com.
Psychic radio, holistic radio, spiritual radio. This is achieveradio.com. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/achieveradio.
AchieveRadio.com. What a beautiful day to be alive. My debt is paid and more money arrives. The fridge is full and there's plenty of ice for a fireside chat with anyone I like. What a beautiful day, good to be here when almost everyone has disappeared. When almost everyone is waiting in line, it's good to meet you in this world of mine.
Welcome back, everybody. Hour 2 live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here in achieveradio.com, and it is a beautiful day to be alive. What a great song. Every day is just a wonderful day to be alive, and there is nothing like life. And we celebrate it here fully with Dr. Dean, who has magnesium at the center of her health protocol, her dietary supplements, being in an effect of its own, the spark of life, Carolyn, is also recognized. And then we have electrolytes in the Remite product, which are life-giving forces. And then we have the RNA drops, which are life-giving. So we're all about giving life and supporting life through our dietary supplements and also just through our relationship with one another and also with Dr. Dean. Thanks for joining us this evening, everybody, and we are going to go to our phones here in a minute unless we have something else we want to say, Dr. Dean.
No, I'm good. Yes, let's get to the phones and see what we can come up with.
All right, excellent. 602-666-6027 is the number to call. If you have a question for Dr. Dean, you've got to hit *5 on your keypad. That will raise your hand in the studio and let me know, and I'll pull you up and put you on the line with her like we're going to do right now with our good friend, area code 321, down in the great state of Florida. You're on the line with Dr. Dean. If you could give us your name and then state your question or comment.
Good afternoon. This is Lori Moretto, and I have two small questions. One is vitamin D. In order to increase my vitality and health, I was wondering if vitamin D with the products that I'm using with you would be beneficial, and if you knew of any brand, and should it be taken with K2?
Right. Yes, vitamin D is important. It really got a boost in the past couple of years, and the allopathic medicine doctors picked up on it as the next, sexy nutrient, and then they started to overdo it and recommend it in very high doses, which then had side effects. So it allowed us to see what too much vitamin D could do. When you take a vitamin D supplement, or even when you're in the sun, in order to change the vitamin D into an active form, it requires magnesium. So the magnesium that's required to do that can take the magnesium away from doing other functions, just to deal with the vitamin D. So what I personally do is I take a product called Blue Ice Royal, which is vitamin D, vitamin A, and vitamin K2 in a combination of fermented cod liver oil and butter oil. So it's food-based. Otherwise, if you look up the source of most vitamin Ds, it's either synthetic, a vitamin D2, or if they say it's natural, it's from sheep lanolin, which is just the oils from sheep hair. Do sheep have hair, or do they have fur, or something in between?
Yeah.
So I don't want to be licking sheep hair. I'd rather take a fermented cod liver oil. Now that stuff is pretty strong, so I use capsules instead of the liquid. So that's what I've been saying to people. People have gotten back to me and said, yes, I could never get my vitamin D up with the pills, the Blue Ice Royal, and the magnesium. My vitamin D levels came up. And see, this is another problem with testing. We don't even know if the test that's being used, which is actually testing the inactive form of vitamin D, not the active form.
Right.
We don't know if that's the right one to follow. And whoever did a study to prove that you needed more than 40, I just say 30 to 40 is a fine level. Just leave it low normal. There's a whole other argument that vitamin D is a hormone, and its function is to help take calcium out of our food supply and keep, put it into our bones. It's to build up your calcium levels. And if you have enough calcium, the vitamin D does not have to be high. And then we think, oh, it's a vitamin, it has to be as high as possible. And then we get into this vicious cycle of too much vitamin D uses up too much magnesium and will cause too much calcium, and then the whole calcification problem. I've had people who've been thrown into heart palpitations, 8-week migraines, even seizure activity when they take high-dose vitamin D.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's great. Well, it's interesting because I just bought that product, and I didn't know that it was a combination of vitamin D and the K and the A. You said, right?
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. Not everything worth doing is worth overdoing, huh?
Oh gosh. Yes. I mean, let me just interject there, Lori, because that's a brilliant point. Because what what even happens in studies, drug studies or nutrient studies, they'll try to study one thing. And in order to make that one thing make a difference, they'll give it to a person in high doses to achieve a reaction or a result. But what we're doing, with the reset formulas is giving certain nutrients in a synergistic combination where they all work together so beautifully that you don't have to use mega dosing. You just use enough.
So you're working with the whole integrated system, basically, which makes sense. One other question is the Renew I bought, and I'm not quite sure if is it for a woman's face or if it's for scars or what exactly it was designed for. So I have a better idea of where to put it.
Yes, well, we can't say that you can use it to achieve anything other than what a skin serum would do. Healthy skin, vitality, glowing. I don't know if we can say much more than that. What do you think, Ginny? What are we allowed to say about Renew?
Well, it is a cosmetic, so it's not a dietary supplement. And as a cosmetic, it has, the opportunity to enhance, just like Carolyn said, your skin, your glow, let's see, but we don't have any diseases, I don't think, that we can talk about when it comes to that. But a lot of people there are a lot of creative ways to use Renew. I will say that. We have people who use it on their, third eye to stimulate their energy and their chakras. So we have people using it that way. We have people using it as a cosmetic, as a cream. We have people who use it on muscles and things like that to enhance that part. So it's actually pretty versatile.
And you can put it in your mouth for toothache. Carolyn told me that the other day. People put it in their mouth. Doesn't hurt the mouth. It might help the gums, but it can help toothaches.
Yes, but in its new category, we can't say that as a cosmetic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Is it safe to say that if I apply it to my skin, that I'll look 10 years younger?
That's probably a claim. We can't make that claim. We're not allowed to make claims.
Okay. All right, so
but you know what
okay.
Yes, and it's very thick. What I do, Lori, is I'll mix it with the Remag, and it thins it out so that I can apply it over my whole face, and it stretches it out as well. But yeah, it can be very thick, and it's just concentrated, very concentrated RNA drops. One drop of rose oil and ozonated olive oil.
If you put it in your mouth, can you swallow it or spit it out?
You can swallow it. Those are all foods.
Okay, so you can eat it.
Yeah.
Laura, you can eat.
No, we're not allowed to say that. You can't say you can eat a cosmetic. Stop it, Bob.
Holy cow.
We
can't say anything, Laura. Forget it.
Bob, you're not behaving yourself.
Oh, geez. That was said to me before I was born.
All righty. Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for phoning in.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey, Carolyn, you made a point there. Science, this lauded scientific laboratory method, they even do their studies of vitamins wrong.
Yes, they just measure one thing at a time, which means the synergism of all these things can never come to play, and they try to isolate. Yeah.
Why don't we emphasize some of this stuff? Are we allowed to talk about that? Science is really faulty and not as pristine, perfect as the myth says.
Oh, yeah.
We're allowed to talk about that?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Okay, back to you, Ginny.
Okay, very good. Yes, let's continue our phone call. Several callers this evening at 602-666-6027. And again, if you're on the line, you want to talk to Dr. Dean, you've got to hit *5 on your keypad to wave your hand, and then we'll put you on the line with her. We're going to go to area code 403, beautiful Calgary, Alberta to Canada. You're on the line with Dr. Dean. If you could give us your name and then state your question or comment. Hello?
Hi, I'm on mute, I think.
There you go.
Yeah, we hear you now. Go ahead.
Hi, my name's Sandra, and I just had a quick question just in regards to, first of all, I'd like to thank you so much for all the work that you guys do and just the professional and just the emails and the timeliness of the emails, and just I'm thoroughly impressed with everything that you do. I've gone through a lot of hoops and tried a lot of different things, and this is the closest thing I've found to actually being something that's going to give me the results I'm looking for.
Oh, that's wonderful. Good. And you
have
a question?
I guess my question is, I received some literature, and then it was the very, when I placed my order, and it was on, the Remite and the Remeg, and those are the two I've started with, just to kind of take things slow to not shock my body. And then I received literature as far as everything that I needed to know, and I was like, wow, this is perfect. And then I went to go get it again, and now I don't have any of that literature. So I'm just wondering, just as far as trying to find information on, the detailed part of using it.
That's where the FDA tells us we can't help people by giving them information about what the nutrients can do. Because if we imply or claim that magnesium can treat a disease, then we're making magnesium a drug. So that's why we had to pull back our information. But I think if you Google, you can find things that are all, still out there. That's what we have to tell people. Maybe you can Google and find previous information, because we can't put it on our product website.
And also, let me just say, Carolyn, as a clarifying comment, that the instructions on the label are totally appropriate. What we were doing was actually providing additional information about using the products therapeutically, and that was what the FDA got upset about. But if you use the products according to what's on the label, you will be perfectly fine.
Okay, and do you shake it in the morning? Because I heard somebody say something that you shouldn't shake it.
Well, Remeg and Remite do not have to be shaken. The shaken is with probably our RNA drops or the Renew, because the particles in the RNA drops, what we call the little eye cells, they're little white particles, they'll drop to the bottom. But if you don't have the RNA drops yet, then there's nothing to shake.
Okay, perfect. And my only other thought, I'm so sad that I got in this after this whole FDA thing, but you ladies are handling it with grace and ease. It's just wonderful to see this, but I'm just sad that I missed all the knowledge before it all. As far as I'm dealing with a bone issues that I feel that I've got from psychiatric drugs and all of that, but as far as trying to rebuild your bones and not being able to get kind of any more information, have you considered other ladies or other people that have had good results kind of doing a mentoring program so you can get your information that way?
We're still trying to work things out, legally of what we're, allowed to say. But, Sandra, my Magnesium Miracle book has a lot of information. You can Google.
I'm reading. I was waiting for August to come out, and my husband finally said, just go go find the one that's available right now and stop waiting. So I'm halfway through it.
Very good.
I've got a Bob for a husband too.
Oh, you've got a Bob, yeah. Okay, so really, Googling will help you. My name and your question, or just bone or whatever, because everything I would say today I've said in the past, and all those thousands of words and articles, I can't possibly remove them all from the internet, so they are available.
Okay, I was kind of looking for videos, but I'll look for words as well. Okay,
and for seminars, we'll be doing more. We'll be doing webinars and to give health information and the bone effects. What we know about magnesium in the bones, scientifically, they've proven over and over that you can't have healthy bones without magnesium. The magnesium aspect of bones is certainly not, the amount is not as high as calcium, but what the magnesium does is make bones more supple. They're not brittle. And if you just take a calcium carbonate that's like a piece of chalk, if you drop that on the sidewalk, it'll shatter. And that's what happens when people just try to build their bones with calcium. And my whole calcium-magnesium balance comes from trying to get your calcium from your diet. 600 milligrams is a good amount. That's what the UK and the UN, both, not the UN, World Health Organization, both say 600 milligrams is enough. And you look at calcium in the foods to see if you can get that amount. We do have a Recalcia if you can't get it from your diet. And then with magnesium,
I bought that one, but I just am kind of waiting to figure out how to use it and bring it in a little bit later, I'm thinking.
Right, because when I was using my Remag, I just used the Remag for, a couple of years before I decided, okay, it's time to put in some Recalcia beyond my diet, because so many of us are avoiding dairy products. So that's the balance, and I think I've outlined a lot of this in my previous writings. So don't feel that you've missed too much. Okay,
perfect. Okay, and thank you so much for everything you're doing. It's just amazing.
Thanks, Sandra, and say hi to Bob for us.
Yes, Sandra.
Okay, I will.
You tell your Bob husband to give me a call. I might give him.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
One Bob, another Bob.
Yeah, let's find out I want to find out what you think a Bob is.
I think Carolyn has as many challenges with her Bob as I have with my Bob.
Oh, no. Behind every great woman, there's a little guy doing a lot.
There's a little Bob, yeah.
I've made Carolyn.
Thank you so much.
Just for the record.
Okay, Sandra, yes, let's cut Bob off.
Yeah,
Bob, mute yourself. Okay, over to you, Ginny. Thanks, Sandra.
Thank you.
Okay, excellent. Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on AchieveRadio.com. Let's go down to the great state of Georgia. Georgia. Area code 678. You're on the line with Dr. Dean. If you could give us your name and then state your question or comment.
This is Carolyn. And as I was sitting here, I realized, you know what? She may not be able to answer my question, but maybe I can answer it. I was on the first day, I was on the total yeast protocol, and I was doing so good. I was really just feeling good and doing great, and then I got an abscess tooth. And they put me on antibiotics, and I'm laying there going, okay, this is totally bad. So I've been on the antibiotics. I've got to go back to the doctor this week, and I'm going to get right back on the yeast protocol as soon as I finish this. But I had no choice. And I was going to ask you, should I be taking extra probiotics? Because I've been taking 1 or 2 a day of the Prescript Assist. But,
well, I guess with that, it's what I can say is what I would do. And yes, with the taking the antibiotics separately from taking the antibiotics, an hour or 2 away, I would be taking 2. I would take the 2. Okay. Yeah, just to build up the back.
Right. I was listening to some of the archives, and I kind of got that, but I was sitting here and I went, wait a minute, I'm not allowed to ask these kind of questions now. So I've never called in before, but Anyway.
No, and you know the answer. I mean, you know what?
Right.
You really do know, and that's a good point too, Carolyn. That we should tell Sandra is that the radio show archives are just, packed with information.
I take my magnesium bath like 5 nights a week, and I put on the archives, and I'm like, oh, I've heard this one, but it's great. So I'm quite a little fan here. And I just got a shipment today, as a matter of fact.
Oh, good for you. Well, what's interesting is that, you began the yeast protocol and this abscess tooth comes up. It's like, okay, let's get rid of everything, do the antibiotics, and then we'll get back to work. So it's
right.
It's okay. I mean, don't, try not to be discouraged, and you don't sound discouraged. You know what you have to do. Well,
I'm not discouraged, and that is funny you should say that, though, because I've been doing the whole protocol on the RNA reset, and I had this thing pop up on my arm from nowhere. And it was just like I went to the dermatologist and said, I haven't had a body recheck or body check in years. And anyway, he said, oh, you did the right thing. He took it off, and they biopsied it, and they said, oh, it's that squamous cell or whatever. Well, I started putting on the whatever it is, Renew. And he told me they called me in a couple of weeks and said, you've got to come back and get stitches, and we got to dig it out. So I was putting that Renew on, and I got there, and I go, do I really need to have stitches? And they said, nope, I think we can laser this one. So I owe that to Renew, maybe.
Yeah, we can't make any claims, but
I know.
That's
okay, but I put Renew on that.
Yeah.
And I've been putting it on my face. But one question I have about Renew, and then I'll let you go. I put some olive oil with it and left it on my counter. Can you leave it on the counter, or does it need to go back in the fridge?
It does not need to go back in the fridge. Now that we've got it, with the pump bottle, and you're not, people aren't sticking their fingers into the opening, then it's not going to develop anything, it's not going to grow anything. So
well, the pump, it's so thick on that pump. I know,
and like I said to I guess it was Lori, that's why I put some Remag in it to thin it out.
That's what I'm going to do. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll do that. All right. Okay. Well, I'm thank you for continuing the show. We're going to talk health, and I'll keep listening.
Oh, you're sweet.
Okay.
Look at that. Another Carolyn. Thank you.
Yes, yes. Okay. Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye now. Thank you for calling.
Okay, excellent. You always expose. I want to say this. Carolyn always exposes everything. I don't think there's ever been a whatever this show is, supplement show, that has to say we can't talk about that. I've never heard Gary Null or anybody saying that. You're exposing what the implications are of the FDA. It's pretty good education for people.
Yeah, people don't understand. And, when our FDA consultant, when I said, well, look, we can't even do a radio show, and she said, well, just go ahead and say what the FDA is telling you. And they don't mind us doing that because part of the exposure of them is that they want it known that they're in control. But, and I think a lot of companies, they'll get their letters and they'll be real quiet. It's like they feel guilty because the FDA slapped them on the wrist. But, man, I don't think that at all. I just think that the rules and regulations, even if they, I don't know how much they are law, but I just think they're pretty outdated and should be exposed.
Yep.
But at the same time, we're going to follow their rules and regulations because we don't want it to be interrupted, what we're providing for people.
I've never heard a supplement show, alternative medicine show, correct what they're saying, limit what they're saying ever. Mm-hmm. And we're doing it excessively here. because we have to, which should show people. So it's a whole new level you've reached here of exposing something that's, like you say, out of date.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yes, Bob. Very good observation. Thank you, Bob.
Yep.
Over to you, Ginny.
Yep. Okay, excellent. Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean, and 602-666-6027 is the phone number to call if you want to talk to Dr. Dean this evening about whatever's on your mind health-wise, of course, as we've said repeatedly. And I do think it is fantastic, Carolyn, that you've got such a great attitude and determination about it, because honestly, I mean, you've been 40 years as a doctor and an educator about magnesium deficiency and their symptoms, and as well as all kinds of other health-related topics, and you've been an advocate for natural health and also health freedom. And so, to me, to not be able to clearly say that magnesium deficiency causes AFib or whatever because it's some kind of a disease when it's really a magnesium deficiency. I mean, it's just such a kerfuffle, and yet, you are abiding with that and keeping the products clear of any controversy. So, I really applaud you for what you're doing. So that's excellent.
Thank you.
Okay, 602-666-6027, and if you raise your hand or you want to talk to Dr. Dean, you've got to have your hand up, *5 on the keypad will let me know that you've got a question or comment for Dr. Dean. Otherwise, we are going to look at the chat line. And then did we have questions this evening, Carolyn?
I have a whole bunch of stuff that came in that I can talk about. So
okay, so let's get this call out in California, and then we'll put you on the line with some of these questions. Again, area code 818, you're on the line with Dr. Dean. If you have a question or comment, can you give us your name first, please?
This is Doris. And
hi, Doris.
Hi, I spoke to you, Janie, a few months ago. I first of all want to give my testimony, and then I have a question for Dr. Dean, not about me, but about my mother. So last year I decided to donate my kidney towards my husband. He had kidney failure. I don't know if you remember our conversation. And I was fine after the surgery. I recovered very fast, but then in around February, I started getting, a lot of colds and just a lot of fatigue. I would get sick for a week and then get well, sick again. And then so I had heard one of the recordings where Dr. Dean spoke about, cold symptoms and the deficiency of magnesium. And I decided to talk to Jeannie, and you were very wise to tell me that maybe I am dealing with some gut issues and magnesium deficiency, which I started taking at the beginning of May. So May and June, since then I started taking it. I haven't gotten sick because when I called you, I was just getting rid of a cold, which it was happening almost every other week. I was getting sick. It was just insane. Extreme fatigue. It was just crazy. So I finished my products, and then I went on vacation. So I've been without it for almost 2 weeks. It lasted me a pretty long time. And then now I'm feeling the fatigue, and I'm beginning to feel the cold symptoms again, which is unbelievable. So I'm like, I need this stuff. I just placed the order, on Sunday night. So I'm very excited that it's actually helping me, and I'm telling all my friends about it.
What you've done, Doris, is you've done your own experiment. You've experimented so that you took it for a while and no more colds, and then you stopped it, and then the body felt that it still needed it. So, your immune system and your health, kind of deteriorated a bit. It's not a disease, and it's exactly what we're talking about in terms of our taking these dietary supplements to keep you healthy. So it's a perfect testimonial.
Yes, and it's I was already doing, eating healthy, eating a lot of greens, fruits, and vegetables, and taking a whole food nutrition called Juice Plus, and I thought I was I'm doing everything, but I was all of a sudden I just began to get sick, and it was just not going away until I started taking your regimen of the Remag, the Remite, and the Realign. And I also use the one for the skin, the Renewal, which is fantastic. I am in love with that product as well. I'm using it on my face.
Good. Now, what's interesting too, Doris, is the Juice Plus. It used to be that with Juice Plus, it's a lot of fruits and vegetables, and it's supposed to have all the minerals. But the fact of the matter is you needed this extra Remag magnesium. So it's another proof that it's very difficult for people to get their minerals from fruits and vegetables, because it sounds like the soil where they grow the fruits and vegetables for the Juice Plus doesn't have the minerals. And that's what I keep saying to people is where the diet is so deficient. That's why we really have to understand that supplementation is necessary. And what we talk about with our Remag is that it's so well absorbed, it gets right into the cells that it's going to give you your healthy benefits much more completely and much faster than any other magnesium. So you've proved a lot with your experiment.
Yes, you did, and I'm just like mind-boggling how it helped me so quickly, and even all my friends, my Juice Plus friends and team are like, they're wondering, because now I'm telling them, a friend of mine told me about it who's also in Juice Plus, and another person's beginning to feel the fatigue symptoms. And it's, people that are stressed out, I have a very stressful job, so I tell them maybe you need magnesium, and I tell them, send them to your website. So I'm promoting yourself as well.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I've come across this even in detox programs, cancer treatment programs, where they put people on so much juice, so much green juice, fresh pressed, all the rest of it. They are starting to tell their people to take Remag on top of the juicing, because we just can't get enough from the soil anymore. It's a public epidemic. And
am I allowed to say this, Carolyn? You don't take magnesium. You tell your friends to take Remag.
Oh yeah.
Because if they take normal magnesium, it won't work.
That's right. Remag. Yes. No. So I send them to the website. So the next question is, I introduced the Remag to my mother, who's she's 62 years old, and she's diabetic, and I started her with a quarter of a teaspoon. And for some odd reason, her blood sugar just dropped. Her average is between 180 and 220. And all of a sudden it went down to 60, and it hasn't been normal. And she's attributing it to the Remag, and I'm telling her, no, it's not. But now she's afraid to take it because she's thinking I added, she was just adding it to the water. And I go, if it's anything, it was helping you, I told her. But I thought I heard you say that it does lower the blood sugar levels, she went back to her doctor.
Right. What the research shows is that it helps regulate the hormones that are related to the production of insulin and the opening of the cells to insulin. I've never heard of it dropping the blood sugar low. I mean, I don't know what your mother's diet is, if she, did something at the same time as taking the Remag, but a quarter teaspoon of Remag, if she's sipping it through the day, that's only 75 milligrams of magnesium. And it's not to treat diabetes. We don't say that. We don't treat disease, but what we know about magnesium and the pancreas, I've got it all written in the Magnesium Miracle book, and it does so many things for balancing your blood sugar. But it'll never force it down. I mean, we say that about all the health conditions that magnesium helps balance. It never forces.
Right.
So I
and
don't
now
know
she's
what
having,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, now she's having all kinds of symptoms where she's getting jittering on her arms, and she's getting a lot of headaches, and they keep giving her just drugs, and I'm like, I'm tired of all these doctors, all they just think of drugs to give her, and
Well,
since I'm not there with her.
Yes. Yeah, and she's not that old. I mean, she's younger than I am, so she doesn't need to have these symptoms. But with magnesium, once you open up the pathways and the enzymes that use magnesium, the body keeps wanting it. It's like she opened the gates with a little bit, and then, she had some reaction, which may not even be from the remag, and now she's afraid of it. But jittering is a symptom of magnesium deficiency. And, I can't say much more, but if you look at one of my blogs called When Magnesium Makes Me Worse, it talks about taking a little bit and then stopping, or some people will start and stop and start and stop and kind of confuse their enzymes. But all you can do is give her the information, and hopefully she recognizes that she's got a lot of magnesium deficiency symptoms. The diabetes, one of the signs in the medical books is magnesium deficiency. So it's only going to help balance her blood sugars. I guess we can't say it's going to treat the disease. I better stop talking.
Right. Damn FDA. All right. Well, thank you so much. You guys are doing a wonderful job, and I can't wait for my order to come in so I can start feeling that energy and clear of mind that I had, before when I was taking it consistently. And now that I stopped, it's like all that fogginess, tiredness, fatigue, and I'm feeling it on my throat right now. My voice is in and out. So, yeah, it's a testament. I can't believe it. It's awesome. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome, Doris. And thank you for calling in. I appreciate it.
Thank you. You have a great evening.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
You too. Bye-bye.
Carolyn, before we got, our warning letter from the FDA, and we weren't able to, say a lot of things, one of the things, too, that we aren't supposed to do is to share testimonials like this one that Murr gave us, because he says that he was listening to the caller from Georgia and something similar happened to him. He also had an abscessed tooth, and he went to the doctor and was prescribed an antibiotic. And he took the prescription, and he thought but he didn't fill it, and he thought to himself, I'm going to try the RNA drops. And bingo, within an hour, I developed a bad taste in my mouth, and the abscess had burst. And he couldn't believe how quickly the product worked, and now he's all feeling good again with his perfect health and his dietary supplements that we provide. So that's just another evidence that, it really is great to work with the idea of that you're already so healthy and how much the body really does already want to heal itself, because it just takes just a little bit of a nudge, zoop, zoop, and then it just throws itself over and just absolutely releases the abscess or whatever, and then off you go, and you're back to your 100% healthy status, right?
Right, because, the body is going to have little bumps along the road, and I guess what we're used to doing is running to a doctor instead of just, maybe increasing the good things you're doing so that you get over the bump.
Are you telling us how to do a testimonial, Ginny?
No, I'm just saying, back in the day we used to talk about those kind of things, but now we can't really talk about them. But I was just saying, if we were going to talk about how to do testimonials, it's best to do to say, I'm healthy and I already feel really good and I have a dietary supplement that I'm using for my health. And because I'm so healthy, it was very quick for my body to achieve this, this new thing when I had this little bump come along,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I say that about the raw food people and some of the vegetarians. I think a lot of people do need more protein, but sometimes when they have magnesium deficiency, they really quite quickly resolve their symptoms of magnesium deficiency because they are pretty healthy.
Because they're healthy.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have the disease.
Right.
Yeah. They don't have a disease. They just have a magnesium deficiency, and that's very easily solved by just magnesium supplementation with the positive dietary supplement like we have with the REMAG.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very good. 602-666-6027 is the number to call if you want to talk to Dr. Dean tonight. Again, you've got to hit *5 on your keypad in order to chitty-chat with her. And I don't have any hands waving right this second, Carolyn, so let's do a couple of things that you wanted to talk about.
Okay, sure. Yes, this is our friend Joan again from up in Canada. And she's taken on this, healthy cell business and you bring that up a lot, Ginny, talking about how keeping the cells healthy is the most important thing. And, some pretty common sense wording comes from this woman. And I think she was doing horticulture studies up in Canada at one of the universities in rural Ontario. She says, without the first cell that began your creation, you would not exist. That cell contained the specs to create your one system, to create you one system at a time. Yet they all work together in harmony, such a miracle. As we organisms mature, we become 70 trillion cells, all in their time, dying off, being replaced, visible, invisible, body, mind, and soul. Lots of room for error if the nutrients that our Creator intended we have throughout our entire lifespan are interrupted. Think soil depletion, think GMO manipulation, think too many choices, many of them actually dangerous to the health of our cells. So she goes on to all the, kind of the negatives. And then she says, the master mineral is magnesium. It tells the other minerals what to do and where to do it. The cell will accept 100% of a mineral if it's delivered in picometer size. If you chew your food properly, it mixes with the acids in the digestive tract and becomes transformed. The minerals become transformed to picometer size. That size is so small, it does not require further digestion and goes into the bloodstream, feeds the body, going to the heart cells first. So, it's like Ginny. She's taken so much of what we talk about, and what she's doing here, she's writing an email to all her friends and family talking about REMAG, and then she talks about REMITE, and it's the essential minerals there. And she brings up that veterinarians are catching on to the miracle of magnesium, using minerals on their prize horses and bulls. So she's definitely a rural girl, talking about the soil being depleted and the water being depleted and filtered. And she follows up with the potency of Dr. Dean's products allows for just a little bit to go a long way. And then she talks about with herself no longer having cravings, having more energy, smiling more, having a feeling of contentment that you just can't put your finger on. And why? Because your cells, all 70 plus trillion of them, are happier. Just as surely as a battery can get drained if it constantly has to put out and not get recharged, minerals are our recharging buddies if we allow them. So that's that's what this wonderful lady is doing about her outreach with our products. And
so, Carolyn, because there's pollution in the water and oxygen, so the basic things people require, hydrogen, oxygen, right now, magnesium is more important than them.
I don't think you can say that, Bob.
Well, you're breathing, and you're not getting enough, and you're feeling bad. And the only thing that can make them better is the head CEO, is magnesium, because it comes in and it's still functioning on this new level. So you've created a new substance.
I have not.
A new supplement, and beyond the supplement berries, that actually deals with the basics that nothing else ever did.
Well, it's really hammering home that you have to keep taking it and don't just, I don't know, I think what people thought was they had a list of everything that might be useful. That's what Gary Null used to do. Yeah. He'd list off, the top 40 nutrients you should take, and, by number 10, people were just in numb.
Yep.
He numbed them out by telling them they had to take all these, and that's kind of the feeling I get when I look at some of these websites where they have hundreds of supplements, and how are you supposed to choose? And, before the FDA came along with their warning letter, we were, really educating people that you just need these handful and why. Now we just have the handful there, and, we have...
Without the thing telling them what to do.
Yeah. And
you need the organizer, whatever it is, the
central scrutinizer.
Yeah, the central scrutinizer, to quote Zappa, that can organize the deficiencies. So this is why it's so important, and because it's PICO, nobody ever did that before. So no wonder everybody's getting better. Everybody's getting better.
Everybody's getting healthier.
Healthier. Everybody's getting healthier.
Okay, stop it, Bob. Okay, Ginny, where do we go now?
Sorry, okay.
I do have more words. But I'm...
Okay, very good. Let me check the phone lines here. Okay, let's go to more words.
Okay, a doctor from Basel, how do you say Basel, Switzerland, Bob?
Basel.
He or she, OBGYN doctor, says, how do you manage the intracellular passage of magnesium? In the cells we find already calcium, so both have a double positive electromagnetic charge. That means Mg++, Ca, calcium++, she's talking about. And normally calcium does not allow magnesium to penetrate the cell wall. Thanks for the answer. So those words weren't correct, and I sent back to her, and this is from the Magnesium Miracle book. More recent research indicates that calcium enters the cells by way of calcium channels that are jealously guarded by magnesium. Magnesium at a concentration of 10,000 times greater than that of calcium in the cells allows only a certain amount of calcium to enter to create the necessary electrical transmission for the nerve cells or muscle firing for the muscle cells, and then immediately helps to eject the calcium once the work is done. Why? If calcium accumulates in the cell, it causes hyperexcitability and eventually calcification that disrupts cell function. Too much calcium entering cells can cause symptoms of heart disease such as angina, high blood pressure, and arrhythmia, asthma, or headaches. Oh, I better not say that. Well, too much calcium, and actually, so that's what I say. The calcium and magnesium play this role where calcium opens the door, lets a little magnesium into the cell, and then the calcium does its work, or the firing of the nerve impulse or the action potential of the muscle, and then the calcium leaves the cell. I mean, that's the dance. And actually on the nutritionalmagnesium.org, that's the website name, nutritionalmagnesium.org. I'm on the board there. Under videos, there's a calcium magnesium video. I forget what it's called right now. Maybe I can find the name. And it it shows you this basic physiology, and it's really worth watching so that you can understand the calcium-magnesium dance. So that was a nice question from
Hey, Carolyn,
Switzerland.
before the show ends, can I explain something that we've learned?
Well, let's ask Ginny. She's running the show. Ginny, can you give Bob a couple of more minutes?
Sure. Let's see. Let's the final call for questions here. 602-666-6027. Okay, we've got one caller coming in from area code 206. So let's talk to this person and then sure, Bob. 206, you're on the line with Dr. Dean. If you could give us your name and then state your question or comment.
Yes, hello. My name is Lynette from Seattle.
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much for taking my call. Yes, my question was regarding sensitivity to electromagnetic fields. I've been very sensitive for quite a while now, but it seems to have gotten a whole lot worse. And I'm wondering if that has anything to do with magnesium deficiency.
Right. I do write about it in the Magnesium Miracle, the edition. I'm trying to find the electromagnetic. There are some recent studies. There's a study by Dr. P.A.L.L. in the Journal of Cellular Molecular Medicine, 2013. And they talk about the electromagnetic fields acting via activation of voltage-gated calcium channels to produce beneficial or adverse effects. So when I read that, electromagnetic fields act via activation of voltage-gated calcium channels. We've just been talking about calcium, magnesium, how they work together. So right there, made me realize that if something can help balance those calcium channels, it could help electromagnetic sensitivity. And I've heard reports from people who say that they're less electromagnetic field sensitive when they're saturated with magnesium. So I don't know if that's even considered a disease, so I don't know if I'm making a claim there, but I'm just reporting on that study, and you can look it up. I think that's probably all I can say, Lynette.
Oh, okay. So I've only been taking the magnesium now for about 4 months, and the fellow that told me I was deficient said that I was, he said I was non-existent, red blood cell magnesium was how he described it. Yeah, he's kind of a clairvoyant, so that's what he told me. Because I had this mystery illness, and I got very ill last November and didn't know what to do or, anything. So that's what he told me, and so I started taking the Remag and Remite. And it's been real slow for me because I have a, reaction, so I've had to go very slow as far as increasing the dosage. So right now I'm almost up to the 2 teaspoons a day. And I'm wondering, because it's been so difficult for me to even get to that level, should I just continue at that level, or I'm just not sure what to do on that. It seems like I have gotten a little bit of improvement on the sensitivity, because before I was reacting to everything. I mean, even fluorescent lights and LED lights, halogen lights, all of that, and computers and cell phones and cell towers, all of that. So it has gotten a little better. So so I have
How
been encouraged.
long have you been taking the Remag, Lynette?
Oh, it's been about 4 months now.
Okay. Well, it's I don't know if we're allowed to talk about dosing and whatnot, so I'll just say my experience when I started taking my Remag, and this is after years of taking angstrom magnesium, real low potency liquid magnesium. But when I started taking Remag, it did take me a year and a half before I became saturated enough that if I skipped a dose, I'd get my heart palpitations and leg cramps back. So 4 months, by the sounds of it, is a short time to get saturated. And when somebody has positive effects of a nutrient within the first 3 months, that's a very good sign. So that's kind of what I would say to you at this point.
Oh, okay. Well, that's encouraging then. So it sounds like I just need to continue then.
If it were me, yes. Yes, I would. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because, he told me I was, had non-existent red blood cell magnesium, so I'm thinking I was probably very depleted. So,
right.
So it sounds like maybe I need to, keep taking it for probably a long time, maybe like you said, to get my levels back up. So,
and go to the radio show archives, drcarolyndeanlive.com, and listen in, because we had a lot of people who they would slowly build up, and if you say you've been taking it for 4 months, well, it probably took you 2 months to get up to a decent level. So I think you're doing very well.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you so much for the information. I really appreciate it.
Okay, thanks for calling. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Carolyn. Great show. Thank you, Bob.
Till next
Thanks,
time.
Jenny. Thanks, Bob.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Bill.
AchieveRadio.com. Psychic radio, holistic radio, spiritual radio. This is AchieveRadio.com. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/AchieveRadio.
When you purchase the latest TV, tablet, or smartphone, don't forget to do the right thing with your old ones. Recycle them. The Consumer Electronics Association and its members are making recycling your old devices as easy as buying new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find recycling tips, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Don't let your old tech tools clog your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org.
Those things are me.